Hi, and welcome to These Are Just Thoughts. I'm your host, Dustin Abrego, and tonight we are joined by Dr. Mordecai. Thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate that. 7:40 my time, 6:30 your time. Thank you after your busy day for joining us.
Absolutely. So glad to be with you, Dustin. Grateful for the opportunity, man. And it's good to get a chance to talk to you. It's been a while.
It's been, oh boy, 2 years at NASP, 2 years ago,
Yeah, if
maybe?
not three. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's how the world works currently. So we had connected. I saw one of your talks. I've been really honestly inspired in some of the work that I've been doing and putting my digital content out there. I wish I could keep pace with you. Honestly, if anyone hasn't followed him on any of his accounts, I'm like, oh man, I have to post. I haven't posted in a few days, and I'm not going to lie. I got some notifications that it was like, he's posted to his story. And I was like, all right, I got to turn these notifications off because I'm just getting some imposter syndrome guilt that you're like doing. So major props to you, only slightly jealous, but you're really putting a lot of great content out there, not just of your personal passion, but your professional one as well. Can you just explain to people like who you are, kind of what you're about, what that looks like?
Yeah, Dustin. So Mordecai Brownlee is my name, and I currently serve as the Vice President of Student Success at St. Philip's College in San Antonio, Texas. We take pride we're the only institution in the nation that is a historical Black college and a Hispanic serving institution. We hold both federal designations, and we're a community college, and very proud of that. And I'm also honored to share that I will be joining a new institution as of July 15th. I will serve as president of the Community College of Aurora in Colorado. So I'm very excited. Love NASPA. I'm a student affairs professional at heart, proud product of community college, and just do my absolute best to encourage others, encourage my students, encourage fellow educators. I mean, as you know, Dustin, as an educator, we do a lot of work. So often we're giving so much of ourselves. And so I think it's so important that as fellow educators that we support one another as we do this work.
Thank you so much again for joining us tonight, because you got a lot of things trying to navigate, moving family, stuff like that. And like I talked about earlier, both in your professional role of leadership and then also in your personal aspects, you put a lot of great content out there. I believe you put stuff out there daily. I mean, you do the leadership thing during the day, right? And then whether it be you go home or you're doing it before in the morning or at night, and then you're still putting that presence out there. Like, I feel like sometimes people take off the leadership hat and they go home. What's driving you to put that content out there?
Yeah, man. You know, I have truly embodied this work as my life's purpose. And that's probably what differentiates me perhaps from some, even though I'm not in the competitive nature of that. But it's this idea that this for me is a calling. Like, this is what I do. And, you know, I've put it on even on my website and talked about my personal mission statement. My personal mission statement is to empower people and to build systems that empower people. And so I wake up every day with that mission on my mind. And so everything that I do is centered around that. And so it allows for education to be a great fit. But I mean, for me, Dustin, it's I wake up, that's what I do. I go to bed and I'm resting up to do it again. And so every facet, every aspect of my life is built on that personal mission.
That's a lot. I don't think many people could be like, no, this is my like mission, vision. This is who I am. I feel like oftentimes leaders are, people could argue if they're born, created, all of these things, they have the right DNA, blah, 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 blah. But being in the space and then always showing up and being present. And I'm sure maybe you have some times where you're like, just not today, or I need an hour to myself, which is, we're all human, right? How did you get to this point of developing this? I mean, you have a personal statement even, and you put it out there on your website, and it's the domain is your name. So like, how did you develop that? How did you put those words out there and went? Because for me, I feel like I would get to the perfectionist part to where I'd be like, I know for a while I had my first article for my website, and then I sat on it for like a few months because I was like, I don't know. And I was like, I just need to put it out there. I just need to make content and put it out there and put the good energy out into the universe. So how did you go about creating this personal statement and then saying, yep, this looks good. This is what I'm going to stand behind the rest of my life?
That's a great question, man. You know, I will tell you that as I've made the climb in higher education, because I started as a work study student and I worked several work study jobs and then worked my way up to residence life. And then from there, it just took off academic advising and early alert coordination and career services. And, it really just took me into to some other facets. And as I reflect on my journey, as during those particular times, I was taught through mentorship, through my supervisors, the importance of embracing institutional mission. And so as we would go through these strategic plans, I started to realize more and more and more, everything centers around the institutional mission. You set objectives, goals, and you measure and you assess. It's accreditation, but everything comes back to the mission. And this light bulb went off for me, Dustin, where I said, okay, what if I set my own mission, right? What if I take all these years of strategic planning and I actually poured it into my own life? And that's when I will say mentally, from a wellness, holistic standpoint, that it was a breakthrough moment, because I began to really ask myself, okay, what if this is not something that I do? What if this was something that I am? And I embraced that ideology and I began to live in that space. And so through trial and error and time, I have essentially designed and developed a mission statement that I stand behind. I have a daily affirmation that I read every day. I have what I do, and for myself, for my family, we have our own mission, our family mission statement. We have our own strategic plan where we make it this family vacation, but we really just sit down and we talk about what's important to us. And I really just begin to embrace the purpose and intentionality behind life.
So you have a mission statement for your family vacation.
Yeah, well, we have our strategic plan, right? So what happens
I
is
know. I was just trying to make it be like, you sound like my father, to where you overplan Disneyland and you're going to ruin it for me. I'm kidding. No, I think asking what's important when you show up, being like, okay, we're going to go on this trip, right? That's what you're essentially saying.
Well, so we take that time. So let me go back, right? So my wife and I, we met in community college. Okay. We're both products of community college. But if you go back a bit further, both of us were raised by single parents.
Okay.
Both of us were raised in situations to where, our mothers did the absolute best that they could. Sure. But even as we started to make the decision to have our own family, to get married, what would it look like to have a life to where we're married 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now? What does it look like for our children to be raised in a household where they're seeing positive relationships? And what does it look like that some of those hardships that our families have experienced, seeking to be the right kind of example for our children and to break some of what has been these generational hardships in our family? What does it look like to live with intentionality? So for us, it was something that my wife and I really, 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 I won't say bought into, but we embraced, because we knew it would take that level of intentionality not to be divorced or not to have exposed our children to certain negative exposures. So it's that intentionality that has driven that work for us. And so there are times throughout the year to where, in addition to the family vacation, we're also talking about and reflecting on what are our goals and what is it that we desire to do for our children and for our marriage and for our life. And so it's that kind of, and we just take the time and space. It may be a 30-minute conversation, it may be an hour, but it's that kind of where we are checking in with one another and getting a sense and where we need to tweak and holding each other accountable. And that helps us ensure the health and sustainability of our marriage and our parenting. And it's just something that we've embraced all around. So I do it professionally. I do it in my personal life. It's that kind of intentionality, because I'll be honest with you, Dustin, I am scared to continue on in some of the actions of those that have come before me. So I refuse for that to become my story. I refuse for it to become the story of my children. So I want to be a present dad, a present husband, and I want to do so successfully.
That's huge. I think recognizing the struggles and things that you're talking about and saying never again,
right,
or not me, or not today. That's not the person, the father, the husband, all those things, all the identities and the aspects of who you are, and show up, not me as vice president, not me as president. That's not who I am going to be. Does that ever wear on you? I feel like that's what people usually do, is like, I feel like maybe you go to the faith of the personal statement, because that's what you just got to have at the end of the day, is that I am doing the right thing.
I mean, it's a heavy task, but I'll just tell you, it just, my dad passed. Oh, gosh, I was working on my master's when my dad had passed. My parents had been divorced since I was an infant.
Okay.
And I remember having to go back to Ohio, where I'm originally from, Toledo, Ohio, to be a part of this service. And I was in that space and I was really reflecting, Dustin, and I wasn't taking care of my health the way that I am now. And I just was kind of just living not the absolute best, not with the level of intentionality that I live with now. Yeah, and I just, in that space, in that church, in that ceremony, something hit me where I'm like, man, when it's all said and done, what did I do?
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, what mattered? And I just said, no matter how heavy the burden, but don't consider it a burden, but no matter how heavy the task is what I should probably say, it matters. So my emotions, I may feel what I feel. If I need support, wellness checks, meet with a therapist, a counselor, seek that help. But at the end of the day, there are those that came before me that, they leaned forward and they leaned forward for a sacrifice of what would be a bloodline and generations that they would never see. So what is it up on me to embrace that same responsibility and lean forward for those that come after?
A quote of something that comes to mind is, many people have probably heard of Stephen Covey. And he's like, what do you want to be written on the epitaph of your gravestone? It's not the dates, the born, the deceased dates. It's that in between, that dash. What happened then? What did you do?
Yeah.
And I think that's huge in recognizing and showing up with the intentionality. So remind all of us again, what is your personal statement?
Our personal mission statement is to empower people and to build systems that empower people.
Why'd you decide to go with a two-parter?
Well, so there's that part.
I'm not quizzing you. I think
we're all very
curious. It's not
this is good.
I'm going to stand up to others or stand for peace or something. You're like this, and then I'm also going to build. The build, I think, is a very important aspect.
Yeah. So the empower people is that part that I've embraced to say that it is part of who I am, that I take every opportunity to empower a person. That is, as an educator, we provide, accurate information. We provide the research. We provide the practitioner aspects of life, and how do we build, create productive citizenship in terms of how we enlighten the individual. The building part, in building systems that empower people, is that part of the architect. It's that part to say that if I have within my power to create an initiative, to create a program, to be a part of the development of an actual building, or in a restructuring in a sense, but my works are then essentially creating a residual effect of continued empowerment through the building of a system or a structure or a program that then I'm also saying I'm committed to that as well. So the person and the system that empowers the person are essentially where I've made my commitment.
Giving the person the house, but also teaching them and showing them this is how you take care of it. This is how something that I would always tell people that I supervise. I go, I'm not always going to be your supervisor. You have to figure out how to do this stuff on your own, or another supervisor. I think I'm okay, right? I think I do pretty well. They might not ask you, or they might not care. And I don't need you to have the answer for these things of what you want out of life or where you're going. You need the answer. And I go, I don't care. And then people laugh or look at me weird. And I go, it's not that I don't care about you. You need to care about your own reason, your own mission, your own passion, whatever that is. What is that for you? And I always get surprised when I say, what do you want out of life? And people look at me like, what do you mean? And I go, that should be a very easy question. That should be. And it scares me sometimes that I feel like we're not asking people that. Where do you think we're missing that as educators? Is it us not leading and guiding people? Or am I like way off in left field here of like,
gosh, no. I mean, it's a great question. I think that what you're saying is powerful in itself, but it's having others embrace the charge, right? It's that your validation isn't found in the title.
Yes.
Your validation isn't found in the institution. The validation of self is found within self. Yes. It's the person looking back at you in the mirror. And I think that it's not as easy for some to embrace that reality. They rather base their existence on what society tells them. And so it's a level of consciousness that not everyone has the honor to reach, but it is available for everyone.
Get into these talks sometimes with the students that I've worked with or other people I supervise. And then some people just zone out and don't want to be a part of it, which is okay. Maybe they had an off day, and then sometimes people just don't want to have these talks, and that's okay. And I recognize those things and I understand where other people are coming from. It just worries me because I don't want them to have that moment, because I guess I'm just this bleeding heart that secretly people won't tell you that I'm very emotional. People are like, Dustin, that's not who he is, right? As a leader and other things. But I worry about them because I don't want them to have that moment when they're older, when they're caught off guard and they go, what have I been doing? I didn't actually want this. Ooh, this is not what I was looking for. Because that's a scary place.
Very.
If you have, from what you've described to us and what you've kind of told us, I'm just elaborating. Tell me if I'm wrong. You were maybe put in some positions of things where you went, this is all I got right now. And that's how it's going to work. And I feel like when people have many options, many of us take a lot of it for granted and we go, well, I don't know. And then we kind of just, we let the environment, we let others choose for us. And not that we shouldn't listen to people's wisdom, advice, because I don't know everything. You don't know everything. None of us know it all. But I think they don't have the fortitude or I don't want to say care, because it makes it sound like people just don't give a damn. That's wrong.
Right.
But they don't have that ethic behind what they want. And that scares me sometimes because I don't want people to end up that way.
Yeah. Yeah. The level of intentionality that even I live my life with wouldn't work for some. The level of intentionality I live my life with, it may be too intense for others. They may feel like, oh my God, like, do you not have fun? And not realizing that I'm having fun because I'm living, I know my purpose. How is this not fun? So it's very interesting, the perspectives. And I just, it all depends on life experiences. It all depends on traits. It all depends on all these other factors that make the person.
Yes.
But for me, my fear is for someone who can just dwell in spaces where they don't realize or know why they're there.
Yes. The ones that are the lost. Those are the ones I worry about.
It's kind of like caught in the Matrix. Like if that's where you want to be, it's not real. Yeah. It really isn't real. But if that's where you
if you want to stay plugged in, accept that. But if people are unwilling to even go, I don't know if I want this.
And now here's the other part I will say. There's this other part to say that, did I know all along that I was going to be an educator and be at this point in my life? Absolutely not.
No,
I did not. Matter of fact, I thought I was going to be the next VJ on MTV or BET. Okay. I mean, I didn't know. I thought I was going to be a record exec, right? Honestly, my whole goal in life was to be the next P. Diddy, okay?
Sure.
I didn't know, but there's these points in life where I had these moments of my own crossroads, and it was those experiences that I began to embrace, where I began to reflect and battle and think and began to understand that life truly is a journey. And at different points in life, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, let's have another podcast, right, Dustin? Because I may be saying the same thing. I may not. I would only hope that I've grown even deeper and further into it. But life does what it does, and it gives us these various experiences. My whole thing is that wherever anyone is in their journey, live it with intentionality. Own your current space. Own where you are. And ask yourself, did you get there by happenstance, or are there elements that you can control? And if you can't control those elements, put purpose behind those elements.
I knew we would be friends. And earlier when I was laughing that like the intensity, and you're like, I laugh because people have told me that. They're like, did you have fun? I was like, what are you talking about? I'm having fun right now. They're like, you don't look like it. And I was like, oh, well, this is like a big math problem thing. And it's like a puzzle that I'm figuring out of like what's happening and how can I do the best job and what's the next thing. I'm sitting in my car because this is a silent place that I could get to right now, recording on my phone. And you're after having a long meeting and you're going to be moving somewhere or whatever. And for both of us, we go, yeah, this just makes sense.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do tonight. Like I could just go eat ice cream and screw around and play video games and do whatever. I might do that later, sure. But this is more important to me. And this is me being intentional. And you're like, oh, I can do this date. And I was like, he's a busy man. I need to do this now. Yeah, that sounds great. Perfect.
It works.
Gosh, we really got off in the intentionality. Thank you. Those were so much depth. Please, people, listen into what this man is saying. So since you've been leading and guiding people for some time now, being in various roles and whatnot, what's a point of pride you've experienced with this growth, maybe? And then what would be I don't want to use the word regret, because regret makes it sound like you chose poorly or something. But if you could do it over again, what would you do in regards to being a leader?
So the first part of that is for me, there is nothing more beautiful than watching the light bulb go off for somebody. That is Oh my gosh, man, you want to talk about a rush. And it's the reason why I love, teaching. I've been teaching now for about 6 years as well. And I miss that classroom experience because as you're providing information, causing deep critical analysis and reflection and asking them to apply the information to their lives, amazing breakthroughs happen. And there is nothing like watching that light bulb go off. That to me is what I love, and I love to see it, and I love to be able to provide it. The second part to that, in terms of regrets or things I wish I would have done differently, Dustin, I've battled with this. I wasted a lot of money and time.
I feel like that's most of us. Yeah.
I wasted a lot of money and a lot of time. But there's another side of that coin to where I've challenged myself when I say that to say, but that was all a part of the investment.
Yes.
And that time and that money was the investment to get me to this point.
Am I taking a stab at saying like student loans and stuff like that?
I was really serious at one point about like pursuing entertainment, right? I really thought about what would it take to do those things. Man, I spent thousands of dollars on certain, investments of trying to get that going and all of that, right? Spent a lot of time late night doing promotion. I used that money, man. That helped pay my way through school, man. I was DJing through college, man. I kid you not, dude. I mean, I'm telling you, here's an exclusive here. I haven't said this on a podcast ever, right? I used to DJ at a country club, right? And I used to get the best tips because they could not figure out how I knew the songs. It's those kind of things. Now they're cool experiences and I can talk about them now. But at one point in time, that money was being used to pay for school, man. I was using that money to buy books. And so it was taking these, I was working graveyard shifts, moving mail packages from airplanes, or I was working in freezers and refrigerators, breaking down 18-wheelers and breaking down pallets and restacking them for distribution. All of that got me to this point. And so I think in all, do I regret it? I can't. Because it's just amazing that it got me to this space. I'm just glad I got here.
When I do the regret thing, or when I think about that, or I go, yeah, I could have graduated sooner, or I could have done these other things in undergrad. And I think about it. And when I'm in it, because I would compare myself in grad school to someone that was the same age as me, but he had already graduated and was full-time. And then I look at myself after the fact. When you're in the moment, you can't step out of it. It's just too hard, I think. But when I look back, it's, the hindsight 100%. And I can see, I was like, I wasn't ready yet. If I had been in that mental space that I was in and I was in the role, I would have failed. I would have done poorly, or I needed that experience, you understanding maybe where students are coming from, working those shifts, doing those things. And the DJing thing, people are like, oh, blah, 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 ha, ha, ha. It's like, that taught you also how to talk to people. And I'm one that says, or stands behind, that every experience is valuable.
Yes.
And you want to learn how to talk to people, try to get people to go dance, especially if they don't want to. Like, you trying to do that? I'm like, are you kidding me? That's very hard.
Yes.
I've done some DJing stuff before, and it is not easy. You very quickly will play a song, and then it goes, oop, and then everyone in the room is then looking at you and being like, why'd you do this? And you're like,
exactly.
Oh, no. No, I think those experiences can really build and create us. And going back to the message earlier of laying the bricks for the foundation of who you are and who you've become today. So I'm realizing how much time we've been talking, and I really appreciate this. One thing I want to get out there, what's one thing that's been rocking your brain as of late? What do you want to leave our listeners with? What's something that's in your mind lately?
Again, thank you for this opportunity, Dustin. I've enjoyed our dialogue, man. What's really been on my mind is as we are recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, our institutions, there are some that are eager within the academy to return to how things used to be. And that is very concerning for me, because I am one who believes that we are truly in a new era of higher education. I believe that, 10 years from now, it won't look the same. The taste, the advancements in nanotechnologies, biotechnology, disruptive technologies are really causing higher education to truly get off of its bottom in some regards and really get to work and getting more aggressive with how we educate and how we provide services. And it's been on my mind. It racks my brain as to, especially now, having the honor and privilege and pleasure of reaching the presidency of a community college, something I dreamed about for years, and now reach it. I now know and been embracing my own responsibility of working and partnering with the faculty and staff of the Community College of Aurora and saying, okay, what do we do to ensure the relevance of our institution for years to come. And so there's going to be some work before us. There's some great ideas, I'm sure, that are already present. What do we do to grow those ideas and make them real and ensure that we are able to not only maintain our market share, but to grow our market share and create more opportunities for social and economic mobility? Because as we look to eradicate poverty, education is a proven mechanism, and we've got to instill that trust back into the academy that a credential can change my life and the life of my family. So that definitely stays on my mind.
Those are some presidential words right there. For sure. Dr. Mordecai, it's been a privilege and honor chatting with you tonight. I really appreciated it. Everyone, please go check out what's your Twitter handle or what website? What do you
website?
What do you want to plug here?
Website. It's ITS Dr. Mordecai. It's drmordecai.com, and all of my handles from Twitter to Instagram to LinkedIn, all that can be found. It's Dr. Mordecai.
Please go check out his content. Always putting positive stuff out there. He is a true practitioner of what he preaches 100%. Again, thank you so much. It's been really great chatting with you, and it's been way too long.
Thank you, Dustin.
All right. Thank you so much.